This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. I will be letting people in as I do my introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lorelei Diveter with the IPM Institute's Pest Defense for Healthy Schools. Welcome to the September call for the North Central IPM School IPM Working Group. On today's call, we'll hear from Howard Grashin from the California Pest Control Company, Integrated Pest Control Management, Inc. And unfortunately, Jose can't join us today, so Howard will be presenting solo. Jose opened IPCM in 2016 after over 20 years in the pest control industry. He has a reputation for resolving pest control issues timely and efficiently, and Howard comes from a customer service background and focuses on hiring the correct technicians, providing proper training, and communicating with customers. The company has also recently achieved Green Shield certification and plans to offer a Green Shield certified service to their clients, which includes 16 school districts and multiple colleges. We thought that this would be an interesting case study for you all to see how pest control providers interact with schools, and Howard will share strategies to control pests and rodents on schools that comply with the California restrictions. So a little background on today's presentation. Howard will talk about the Healthy Schools Act. And from a pest control provider perspective, and we'll talk about training required during each license period for pesticide applicators through the Healthy Schools Act and the mandatory reporting requirements. Then he'll also discuss the 2020 law that prohibited, or the 2020 California law that prohibited the use of second generation anticoagulants, rodenticides statewide. And then I wanted to use this time for working group updates. So if you have any updates, please feel free to mention them now. All right, no updates. Okay, and then I want to acknowledge our funders. So funding for this working group is provided by the USDA National Institute of Food and Agriculture, Crop Protection, and Pest Management Program through the North Central IPM Center. We've recently received a funding opportunity from the NEA, the National Education Association, which is the nation's largest professional employee organization, representing 3 million elementary and secondary teachers, higher education faculty, education support professionals, school administrators, retired educators, and students preparing to become teachers. NEA is committed to advancing the cause of public education, and IPM Institute will host 2 virtual trainings for school staff with a focus on custodians and grounds maintenance. We also received a sponsorship from PestBoss, which is a software company that empowers facility managers with the tools to conduct and oversee facility pest management inspections, abatement activities, and monitoring reporting. And then our final sponsor is Excluder, the global leader in rodent and pest exclusion products. Excluder offers a wide range of products for both commercial and residential applications. Their line of patented rodent-proof products include fill fabric for gaps and cracks, entry door sweeps, and vertical seals. Then we have a few pest defense update and reminders for you. Please remember that our online training modules are free and open access. If you know any schools or school staff that are in need of an IPM training, please send them to our website, which is at the bottom of this slide. I'll also put that into the chat. If you are not subscribed to our newsletter, please send me an email as well, and I will add you to our future newsletters. One of our goals this year with our North Central funding was to update some of those modules with a human voice, and Dr. Don Gouge has provided us with that voice and is currently working on updating our intro to IPM modules. So we are excited about that. And a couple of interviews we have lined up that'll be in our blog post and newsletter with a Alyssa Foss of DATCAP, and Seth Dibley of EPA. And we have a reminder for an event coming up next month, the TIC Academy, which is a 2-day event hosted by the IPM Institute. This virtual event will feature presentations from experts in the TIC field, including Tammy Johnson, Alexis White, Susan Paskowitz, Bob Murray, Brian Allen, Kirby Stafford, and more. And then for more information, feel free to reach out at Leah McSherry. I'll put her email address in the chat as well. And our next webinar will be on November 16th at 1:00 p.m. CST. To be determined topic as of yet, and we'll go back to our 1:00 time to meet, to be more inclusive of other people's schedules. And please feel free to put questions into the chat, and we'll address them at the end. And with that, I'll pass it on to Howard.
Okay.
Let's see, I will make you the host, Howard,
Okay.
after I stop sharing. All right.
All right, get in there.
Are you seeing anything, Howard? Or are you sharing? Thank you for bearing with us, everyone. Let's see. Hi, Howard.
Listen.
Hi, Howard. Would you like me to share your slides for you?
Lorelai, can you email him to see if he's having computer
Yeah.
difficulties?
Yes.
And while that's going, hi everyone, my name is Ryan Anderson. I did want to just say we wanted to have Howard on because we wanted to have more pest control operators that were working with schools, because one of the focuses of our school IPM working group is in fact trying to see what the different state laws are around IPM and coming up with a fact sheet focused on the North Central region, but also across the nation in terms of what are effective state school IPM laws and pesticide reduction laws, and how different pest control operators and how different schools are responding to that. So that's why we invited Howard, because his company does work with 16 different school districts across the California region. So hopefully we can get him back up.
I'm back on.
Here, so he's back.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But he may need to share the presentation.
Okay. Yeah, good thing I have it, so I will do that. All right.
So the Healthy Schools Act, I'll go a little bit off thing, became a law in 2000, and it was signed for by the governor, called Bill 1788. So basically, it's a public posting. Can you go down a little bit?
Oh, sorry, I'm
All right.
not used to this. Oh, gosh. Um, can I find it?
Slideshow. Slideshow
Sorry, it was there.
from beginning.
Okay, got it. Sorry. There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
So it became a law in 2020, and it was nicknamed the Right to Know Law, so that any student in a school, their parents, their guardians will be notified whenever a product is going to be put down. So there's two parts of that. One is a posting date, which is usually 3 business days, and then we can actually, if and when need to do a treatment. But there's several parts of it, and what started out as a Healthy Schools Act more or less became something called another bill called Bill 1788, where from 2000 to 2014, they had been doing studies on what is killing the mountain lions, birds, everything like that. And I kind of jumped around a little bit, I'm sorry, because of how the screens went. But because they were finding that 90% of mountain lions, 88% of bobcats, 85% of birds, 70% of spotted owls were dying from the second generation rodenticides, that's why rodenticides have been pretty much taken out of what we're doing in California. But we've gotten by. We do a lot of exclusion work. We're in the middle of doing exclusion on different schools. And it's been a pretty, once we did it in one school, it worked. They had a terrible problem. We did the exclusion. We got everybody on board. The custodians are looking for certain things. Teachers are looking for certain things. And whenever anything sees anything that's amiss, then we can go back and do what we need to do in order to keep them and their schools free of rodents. I know that kind of skipped from one to the other, but we sort of got side change with this. Healthy schools is what it encourages long-term solutions, which is basically what IPM is, the concept of IPM. So where they want to go with this whole thing is they want to encourage long-term solutions. They want to do it with the least effective ways for children and visitors, teachers on campus. Requirements are you identify, train your staff, notify everybody on campus if there's a problem. Stay registered by putting everything into a book, which we have on campus inside each school, one in the office, one in the kitchen. We plan, we post, we record, and we report. So those are what would they be? What is the school's requirements? So when we train somebody and we get somebody on board, you know, it's as much as we'll ask them to write something out. Just this happened on the way to the office, just to see how they write. Make sure they can convey, because what we put in the book is basically what happened. We want to make sure that they can describe accurately. They have the skills to put it on paper. They have the skills to communicate what they put on paper. So we ask them to say, read back to me, what is it that you said? Why did you include this? Why didn't you not include that? So we sort of get a feeling from the person as to how they communicate, what they see, what they didn't see. And once we get all that, we put it in the book. On this day, we found this animal. This is where we found it. This is where we found it coming out of a wall, found it coming out of a pipe, wherever it was. Who saw it, who reported it, and what we did about it. We usually have our guys, when they go into schools and other IPM accounts, rather than carry a P&G, they carry a little kit that would allow them to seal a crack or a crevice. If there's a small hole, maybe less than an inch, inch and a half, we can plug that with materials that we have. We keep the copper mesh with us in their trucks. So it's just as easy to go. And by the time you get a school janitor or custodian to fill this paper out, so that it's just easier that we do it ourselves. And we find out that the customers, the superintendents, the principals, they love it because they know when we go there and there's a problem, most likely we'll be able to do it in one shot. It's permanent. We told them why they're there. And you get your people who they don't want to hear about green. They just want just spray, take care of it. I don't want bugs. That's out here. It's changing a little bit within California, but we're doing it for the people where they see it. It becomes very contagious, and everybody loves solving a problem. So, oh no, I don't, you have bugs today. No, that's right. You did it last week. Good for you. You go in and you see people now are starting to covering their garbage cans so they don't get flies and other insects inside their kitchens. And once they start doing it, there's a certain, hey, that's what I did last week. And it builds an environment, a culture where with support and with, a lot of things. And believe me, principals get involved. I don't know who they are, administrator, office managers, all the way down to the janitor and custodian level. And it's great when they all start buying in, and then they not solve their own problems, but we get them to encourage them, and it's kind of how it all happens. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? I'll take that as a no. So how do we train and monitor the people? We've got to find people. They might be good technicians. Some of them are great technicians, but not necessarily good information sharing people, and vice versa. We're trying to get that combination, and wherever we can, if a person is both, they're golden. They are good to hire right off. We put everything possible. We can put temperatures down because sometimes out here we get a wide range of temperatures. And certain ants will come out at certain temperatures. So we always know that it could be just that time of day that they're out, and then they go away. We have a very open policy with administrators calling either Jose or myself at all hours of the day if they feel that something isn't right, if something isn't a problem not being solved. And then usually one of our three managers will go out within a day and report back as to why a particular problem remains unsolved. And there's not many of those. It usually comes down to, always the same thing: trash not being covered at night, doors, windows being left open, ceiling tiles not being secured on within a classroom or within a kitchen. I think our biggest thing has been to get dumpsters moved 15 feet away from the back door of the kitchen to being at least 30 feet away. That in itself has cut down, and that's something they can see, immediate. And once they see, oh, it worked, they're so willing. And so what else can we do? What else can we do? How do we get rid of this? And, if it's ants, seal crack and crevices. And also under the Healthy Schools Act, they're encouraging all pesticide operators to cut down 10% per year on the amount of pesticide that you report each year to the state. So there's a lot of incentives on the pesticide, the companies to cut how much they're using and how much pesticides they're using. And for us, when we became part of Green Shield, we didn't really cut or change all that much because the products that we use are so minimal, and we've done school since the very beginning. Lori, do you have a picture of our truck? That was in one of these slides. We have on our truck that, there we go, it's coming up. Should have been there.
Sorry, maybe I don't have your full
Yeah,
slides
I
there.
know we changed them a couple ways, but
Okay.
we are here to take care of schools. And when they see our trucks pull in, what we do is take care of whatever their problems are. And at first, it was a bit of a hard sell. It felt like it was swimming upstream, but now that we're into it, and I know districts, talk to, wherever because most administrators come from a different district, or particular custodian will come from a different school. And as that's all taking place, it makes us a lot easier to get through and to sell, and for them to understand how IPM is a permanent solution to what they're facing. Again, anybody have any questions, comments? Right.
Howard, I have a question. Given that you obviously contract with schools, would you say that it's the law that mainly drives your business, or word of mouth, or some others avenue for your business with schools particularly?
It's probably word of mouth. Again, most districts, they all go from different, either within a different school or to a different district. And, we go from Coronado to Malibu, so San Diego to Malibu to almost Palm Springs, and then south about 30 miles. So we have all that sort of Southern California basin. But the more we do it, and we always, of course, post that we're a part of Green Shield, and list basically that we do the schools and the colleges. It's a very easy conversation to have, because a lot of people, once you get past the fact that you really can't use materials, products like you do at other accounts and everything else, and some schools, like any district, you have your good schools, you have your bad schools, new schools, old schools. But wherever we are and whatever we do, and anyone else that follows the same principles we do, really makes a difference. But I think having materials on our truck that we can fix so many things right then and there, and we don't have to wait next month, it's still not fixed, and you have to put it in your notes and take pictures and get all these people involved, that when you're just doing it, and like you change an insect monitor, there's a little crack, there's ants coming out, put a little caulk down, you're done in 10 seconds, problem solved. I mean, I think it just takes a load off of everybody, because companies that don't do that, you put it in your notes, you have to fix this crack and crevice near the sink next month, the month following, and you know what, it never gets done. And every time you go back, there's ants, and every time you go back, nothing changes. If on that first trip you just put out the caulk, you did what you had to do, you move on, and the customer knows it, you get a lot of believers pretty quick. And the fact that most of the districts and college administrators call either myself or Jose, it's not really how it's supposed to be, but it's an added touch that we offer. I'm not by choice, but they've made it like that they call us and say, I have a problem. When can you get out there? Call a technician, you answer him back. It'll be tonight, tomorrow, the next day, whatever it is. But there's a big comfort level like that. They don't have to worry about making 2 or 3 calls and responding, and is he going to show, is he not going to show. So a lot of it is knowing the people and having them know that they can count on us. Anyone else? guys didn't meet Jose, but he's a very personable guy. The districts are, calling him, and there's a friendship there. But really, when the work has to be done and something has to get fixed, or a beehive needs to be, vacuumed away to relocate, I mean, they know they can count on us to get it done in within 24 to 48 hours. And that may include, gopher work. It might include, wasp nest, bees nest, rodents. I mean, whatever it is.
For those cases when you do apply a pesticide, I'm interested. If I'm obviously we will follow the law in terms of notification, but do you do any other procedures in terms of notifying students and staff, or is it just by the books?
Well, out here we have something that everybody uses, School Dude. So when we get a request like that, we have to have a 72-hour posting time. And it does happen because you will get, certain fleas, whatever it is, within a classroom. So we usually do it like on a Wednesday morning and then go out there Friday afternoon, on a weekend. A lot of times it's a Sunday because they don't work Saturdays. So at least when the kids come in the next day, the risk to either students or teachers is minimal. We never do it, during the classroom, and when things are done at night, when nobody else is there, that's when we're able to do it. And it just seems to be, I don't know, I don't think set out like that, but it just developed that that's kind of how it is, and it works. But as soon as we spray, it's a mass email to every teacher or guardian of that school. And whether you're going to do it in one school, every school gets it. And so they know that on this date at this time, there's going to be, whatever it is. And it's a school approved list. We don't use our own, but that's how we do it. And out here, we have a problem with American roaches coming out of drains, especially this time of year when it gets so warm. Carry a lot of Nibor D and different dust with us. So that makes a huge difference. And I think most of the cafeteria, in fact, for pretty much all of our schools except for the colleges, it's either a food services division and the school division. But I think in the last probably 2 years, everybody's become the same page. So the school, if they get something in a classroom, there's sort of that janitor custodian already knows more or less what's going on because he's been involved in the school. So it becomes less of a problem. And schools, at least our schools, one fly they'll call, one spider they'll call. And it's not really, it's setting your thresholds. One spider outside on a playground is okay. I mean, it's not hurting anybody if it's not, right where the students are playing. But if it's in a part of the field that they're not using anymore, who cares? It's nature. And our biggest thing right now is that some of the colleges nearby, Southern California, is a very dry climate. But these colleges, they have the most green, lush campuses. They're beautiful. Well, you know what? They've got flies, they got bees, they got spiders, but they have them because of what they have. The spiders are going to eat the aphids that are on the flowers. The um, lizards are going to eat the spiders, and so it's a cycle. And so we kind of have to say, well, let's pick and choose. If you have a spider outside, that's not necessarily a problem. People are making it a problem because they say, oh, this particular school has, black widows, but every school has a black widow, I'm sure, in this area. So it's just getting everybody on the same page and understanding that, you are going to have bugs, and that's okay. We just don't want them inside. We don't want them in the kitchen. We don't want them in the classroom. And we had a beehive in Santa Monica. So they called it in on Tuesday. We went out Wednesday. The hive had already relocated. It was a swarm. They relocated to a tree in the back of a building that's 40 feet high. And, that hive or that swarm is not going to be a risk to students, at least not unless they make a hive and, it becomes an issue. But for where this thing was located, it's okay. It's not a risk. And understanding and having people understand what the risk is and what the risk isn't, that's made a big difference. Because every time they see a bug, it's not necessarily a problem. Bugs aren't bad. I mean, bugs are bad in certain areas, but bugs in a garden or on a tree, or they're just doing their job in nature.
We had a question in the chat, Howard.
Yes.
What are the top 3 toughest pests you usually deal with at schools?
I would say bees, wasps, just because they tend to nest in areas that are very complicated to get to. Rodents at certain times of the year and in certain areas are very difficult. And we don't typically put bait stations or anything like that in schools. We'll put snap traps in certain areas within a trapper tunnel or in certain bait stations. And lastly is probably German roaches. Every once in a while, they'll get a shipment in, and then everybody's got German roaches within 3-4 days of each other. And obviously, it's a delivery that they got from some supplier, but they seem to be. I'm sure if anybody knows how they store food in schools, you just go into a storage room, and some are on stands, some are on racks, others are not. So once they put them into that room becomes infested very quickly.
Going on the rodent control, we're obviously the EPA is proposing restrictions on second generation. California already has those restrictions. I believe they came in 2020. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how your company has responded to those restrictions for rodent control, specifically as it goes to schools. Did you have to change any of your practices or?
No, I mean, it's really it's always the same thing. I mean, it's harborage, water, food, and if you can eliminate those within a school, those rodents will move on to a different area. Um, but so many schools say, "Oh, we can't keep the dumpsters open. We can't close the dumpsters all day long. Oh, we can't, pick up the garbage every day." Now, there's always an excuse that was probably pertinent maybe a few years. I don't know. Maybe it was pertinent at one point in time. But when you get somebody to take the garbage and close the lids and whatever it is, they'll see a reduction in rodents, not to the day, but within 48, 72 hours later. And then you've got somebody, you got to believe her. So they'll tell, their people, whoever they're with, and I'm sure custodian, janitors talk from different, schools, but you just need that one break, and it hasn't really made a difference. Just exclude, and they'll move on. We all know that some of the baits that are available now are just not as effective as they were. But if you exclude and get them out of there, they don't need to eat the bait. They're gone anyway. And again, if you go to schools, I mean, they're all so out here, they were probably all built in the 60s, 70s. So, they've all got the same issues. You can fix it in one school, you fix it to another. And it's the results. And you can't argue with results. I don't, yes, there are certain areas that we need to have stronger baits, but in the schools that we do, in all the schools we have, once they start taking garbage out at the end of the day after they eat, they close the dumpsters. They, if the kids, throw candy on the ground or hot dog or whatever they're eating that day, they get all that cleaned up. I mean, their rodent population just shrinks so quickly. We had a school that was just, we're in the process of doing it, just overrun with rodents. It's amazing how many rodents there are there. But they have doors that have been eaten by rodents that are probably 3 to 4 inches off the ground. And, again, once they fix that door, once we start closing the vents, once we, seal all the holes around the pipes, guess what? They don't have rodents anymore. And rather than keep calling us up, we got a rodent, and they're finding out, wow, let's just make one call, get it done. It might cost money in certain cases. I mean, but what do we want to do? They went all the way to the school district, and the school district had a hearing. Now they're saying, well, how quickly can you do this? And it's still going to be 2 to 3 weeks so we can trap everything and seal everything and get it done. But again, they just they have 50 vents that go around this school, and probably only about 5 to 7 of them were properly sealed. And this is in Santa Monica, which is a notoriously high rodent area. So we can't put rodenticide down. Couldn't do much. All we could do was go in, convince them, and rightfully so. It's not selling. It's telling, if we can do this, close these vents, seal these holes, you guys won't have rodents anymore. They fought it. It went to the superintendent. The guy called up and said, how soon can you get this done? It's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, if we go in right now and seal everything, you're going to have dead rodents, in the walls underneath the building. So let's get those out, and then we'll seal everything up. And I mean, they're happy. Now we're going to start our second and third schools, and all done without rodent bait.
Right. I have a question to follow up that too. How do you, because you guys obviously can't go there every day. How do you communicate with the schools and to show them the tasks that they need to do, or how to fulfill the exclusion duties while you're not there?
Well, they know what to look for, and like anybody, if you can solve somebody's problem, and you work with these people all day long, and you get a custodian to go in and fix something, takes them just a few minutes, but it makes a big difference. They feel great, and everybody around them praises that person for taking care of it. So these guys have the technician's number, they have my number, they have Jose's number, and between all of that, we're in contact with them. Someone's in contact with them a lot. And again, it didn't really start out that way, but it's developed that way. And for us, it just seems to work. It takes a lot of time, but it works. And this is, it's public schools, it's public colleges, private colleges. So, we more or less use that method at each place we go, and are confident about it. And, we'll solve their problem. And we'll solve it quickly, and we'll solve it permanently. I feel good saying that.
How are you dealing with rodents, dead rodents that are trapped in inaccessible areas?
Well, that will always be a problem. I mean, right now at these schools that I mentioned, we're doing a trapping, and one by one we seal the holes as we go. So we'll start at the outside perimeter and just keep working our way in. So, we'll get down to 1 or 2, and hopefully we'll get them out that way. But if it happens, I'm probably too much information. There's a science, this is a big Santa Monica school, and they have a science room, and this guy raises rats outside in a little shed that he built, because he's got 4 or 5 boa constrictors in there that he uses for his science classes. I'm writing them a letter to have them get rid of that rat thing, because it's a really old wood, and it just, I mean, it smells, we all know what rats smell like. So when you walk around this one part of the building, you always smell that rat smell. But the snakes got out one time and ate all the rats, but then they couldn't find the snakes, and they were in the walls, and they were too big to get out. Well, that was a whole story in itself. But we try and trap everything out, and if one gets in there and we more or less can determine the area of where it is, that's what we do. There's never any way to be 100% sure.
Any other questions for Howard?
I have a question.
Yes.
So who picks up the dead rodents when you're done, and how do you clean up an area? It's I'm with the Northeast Working Group, and it's been a major discussion at various times about the best way to clean up rodent waste and the risk of doing it even with a HEPA vac. So I'm wondering who cleans up the dead rodents, and then how do you clean up the waste that's left behind?
Well, generally it's one of us. I mean, every once in a while you may get a custodian to do it. Do you know what the product DSV is? Have you heard of
No.
that? It's a sanitizer and everything else. It became popular during COVID along with all the other bacterial and virus killing things. So after we pick it up, we just sanitize it with that spray with water, and that will take out the information, the smell of the rat and all of
Right.
that.
How about like the pest byproducts? Because we had a scientist in our group, or she's actually part of the national group, and she was really concerned about some of the diseases that could be spread when cleaning up rodent waste. And so just wondering what kind of personal protective equipment you wear, and whether or not you use a HEPA vac or you wet clean.
We would use a respirator.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And then we would go up and use the DSV. We would spray it in the area. We're talking two different areas. If it's in a drop ceiling, we
Yeah.
would spray that tile, and then we would take the tile off with a two-man team, and they take that tile and they pour it right into a bag, and then they shut, and then we use this DSV and redo that tile again.
Okay.
And do how they have the braces around the ceiling tiles, so we spray those as well. And that'll take care of the smell and whatever virus may be associated bacteria.
Okay, because in order to adequately disinfect, you need to clean the waste, all the biological waste first, right? And so that you clean and then you disinfect. So
No, first we spray, we disinfect just to get so that the powder, if there's any powder from the droppings, we get those wet enough, and then we vacuum with a HEPA filter, and then we sanitize it again.
Okay.
So actually sanitize it twice.
Okay, yeah, just the controversy. So you're using a disinfectant, not a sanitizer.
We're using a sanitizer. It's called DSV is the product.
Okay, sanitizer just deals with bacteria and not viruses. So
yes.
It's not
It kills pretty much everything, 99.9% of everything.
Then that's a disinfectant, not a sanitizer. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. There's just some controversy about stuff becoming airborne. So you're wetting it before you do that process.
Yes.
Okay. And your guys are wearing respirators. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Howard?
Is this disinfectant you're using an EPA registered product?
Yes. We use it for clean outs. We use it for, we don't disinfect for COVID anymore, but we use it for that as well.
Thank you. Unless we don't have any other questions, I think we really appreciate your time, Howard. Thank you for your insights and talking about school IPM. As we mentioned, we have our Tech Academy coming up in October, and then we'll be having another school IPM session out in November. But if anybody has any suggested topics, please email Lorelei. And we're also going to be hoping to continue to do these bi-monthly webinars next year. So we're going to be doing another round of applications for grants. So Lorelai, do you have anything else before we?
I do have the poll, just a quick little quiz question for everybody to do.
Before
Oh,
you
And
yeah,
then I
do
see
that,
Lynn
please.
Rose.
yeah, can I just
Oh, yeah.
say, before you do that, so I just looked up the DSV. The important thing, so the DSV, what's really important, it is a disinfectant and a sanitizer, but in this situation, you want the disinfectant. What's really important about this is it disinfects the hantavirus, and that's
Yes.
the one that's so hazardous. That's the one that our group was really concerned about, our scientists. So that's a really good thing. And it's a really good thing that his guys wear respirators, and we just want to make sure who else is protected in that area. But this is a really, it's a quaternary compound, which isn't great, but the fact that it kills a hantavirus is. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Lynn.
you, Lynn.
All right.
If you please do the poll for our data, we would really appreciate it. And
Yep.
then other than that,
Okay.
thank you for joining our call. We really
Yeah. Is the poll showing for everybody? I'm not getting any answers yet.
And we do a lot of work with our guys in healthy schools, and the person that sells us our goods, our products, he comes in twice a year and we just renew everything. So like with any company, it's a continuous education process.
So the poll did show up until I started talking, and then it went away.
Oh,
Sorry.
shoot.
Sorry about
That's
that.
okay. Maybe I'll relaunch it because it's not showing anything on my end here. So I just
some people
relaunched
did
it,
it,
so
but
you can do it again. Oh, I see it worked for some people. But I'll get the results later. Suppose.
It's up now.
Okay. Give you a few more seconds. All right. Let's see. Share results. Oh. Interesting. Might have some more work to do on those polls. All right.
what was the correct answer? Lorelai?
Once per license renewal. Sorry. It's not annually. Annually for school staff. So
Annually for school staff. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. I
Okay.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
thanks for joining. Thanks for presenting.